Let's go ahead and bring our guest on the line, since he is a major part of this event, and I would love to get some of his thoughts on the importance of this event. And we welcome back to the show, and we're so glad to have him on, Senator John McCain. Good morning, sir, and how are you doing on this Wednesday morning?
Good morning, John. It's hard trying to do the Lord's work in the city of Satan here, so I'm always glad to talk to you, and thank you for being involved in the salute to our veterans. They are our greatest generation that we're honoring, and they inspire us every day. And every once in a while, I run into one of them wearing the hats that they wear from time to time, and I'm always deeply moved. And I think we're also aware that there's fewer and fewer of them as time goes by, and so we should seize every opportunity to honor them.
That was one of the things that I didn't realize that I was so moved by when we were talking with Walt Stevenson from the Pima County Republican Party. It's underwriting this event. Of course, this event coming up on October 10th, the tribute to veterans to honor our greatest generation, is being billed as a non-political event. You'll be one of the guests there, and I know that a lot of people are looking forward to having you there and going to this event. But when Walt was telling me the number of World War II veterans that we're losing on a yearly basis, and the importance of having this event now to honor as many as we can, it was understandable, obviously, but heartbreaking as well. It's going to be a really, really great opportunity for people young and old to pay tribute to these heroes. And I would be remiss, Senator John McCain, to not thank you also for the service that you've done for our country as well.
Thank you, my friend. I remember hearing stories of the Grand Army of the Republic, which was our Union soldiers, and every year by year, there were fewer and fewer of them in the parades. And so let's not only honor those who are not with us, but those that are. And I thank you for covering it, and I know there's a lot of issues going on that you want to get to, John, so I'm ready to get to them, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, and since we're talking about our military, let's go ahead and look at what's happening in Afghanistan. We've the media coverage has moved off of Iraq. Obviously, our brave men and women are still fighting hard over there. President Barack Obama, as of this morning, is considering shifting the focus of the military efforts in Afghanistan from confronting the Taliban with more U.S. forces to scaling back the American presence, concentrating on al-Qaeda both there and in Pakistan, according to a latest published report. What's your assessment of what's going on in Afghanistan? What do you think, Senator John McCain, needs to be done at this point in time to get a handle on the situation?
Well, my assessment is that we're not winning, so therefore we are losing. And we need to have very badly, as soon as possible, an implementation of the strategy which the President endorsed last March. And that General McChrystal his assessment is here in Washington. Incredibly, they have asked him not to send his request for increased troops to be sent in order to implement this strategy. Frankly, I've never heard of anything like that in my life, because we already have 68,000 over there, and every day we delay in implementing the same surge strategy tailored to Afghanistan that worked in Iraq, the more danger our young men and women are in who are serving over there. So it's clear that General Petraeus, General McChrystal, Admiral Mullen, who testified before the Armed Services Committee last week, are all solidly in favor of a significant increase in troops and implementation of a strategy of clear hold, and then allow the political and economic process to move forward. That's going to require more troops. And so all I can tell you is that I have some sympathy with the president, because his liberal base, left-wing base, doesn't want to do it. But, these are the times that call for real leadership. And so I'm very worried the fact that we are delaying it. I'm very worried about the fact that we hear in today's paper that Joe Biden has said that he wants us just to withdraw and kill al-Qaeda from a distance. That was the same thing we were doing under Rumsfeld. I mean, we've seen that movie before, John. And so it's going to be an increased sacrifice of American blood and treasure. We cannot allow Afghanistan to return to a base for Taliban, their alliance with al-Qaeda, for al-Qaeda to launch attacks on the United States of America again.
Are we looking at a situation with Afghanistan, and we probably don't have nearly enough time to get into all this, but we'll try to simplify it as much as we can, talking with Senator John McCain. But are we looking at a similar situation that we dealt with Iraq, where we just didn't have? Well, I don't want to go and say what we did or didn't do right in Iraq, but it seems as if, things went south there for a while. We got a foothold, we turned it around, and we changed the scenario. It seems like, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but the Afghanistan war situation seems to have slowly been and incrementally been getting worse and worse and worse. Do we expect this to happen? Is there a short answer as to why this is happening right now?
I think the short answer is that we have problems with the government in Kabul. As you know, there is corruption. I think that there is safe havens in Pakistan for Taliban and other extremist organizations, including al-Qaeda. I think that our focus was on Iraq, and I think that's understandable, because if we had lost in Iraq, the consequences would have been catastrophic. But the fact is, now we have the strategy that is necessary to win. And all we need, and we'll say all, we need a lot of things. We need an increased Afghan army. We need more civilians over there. But you've got to have the military over there first to clear these areas. Look, right now, these aid workers and civilians who work in places like Kabul and in Afghanistan, who are wonderful people, but they can't leave the base. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
They can't. We've got to provide an environment of security for the people. And by the way, the Taliban is not popular in Afghanistan. They don't want the Taliban back, and so we can and must succeed. But again, it's remember that the president was against the surge in Iraq. The vice president was against the surge. Wanted to divide Iraq into 3 different countries. The Secretary of State, even though she voted for sending troops to Iraq, she later turned against it. The National Security Advisor, General Jones, had some cockamamie idea about going to the border and killing al-Qaeda from the borders. Look, nobody supported this, but General Petraeus proved that we can and must succeed there. And I understand, and so do you, John, how weary the American people are. We're weary when we hear of a brave son or daughter of Arizona wounded or killed. We're weary when we see this. But we have to hold tough here and hold and do what's necessary, because if we don't, then the consequences will be felt in the United States.
Well, we're weary, Senator John McCain, but I know you, and I know you understand this. The American people have such resolve, and the one thing that I wish that we heard more from, and it's the one thing that I am constantly encouraged by, is when you talk to members of our armed forces, our active men and women who are bravely out there fighting these battles for us, whether they're in Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever. These are individuals who want to fight and get the job done, and that's what I find so encouraging. And I wish that we heard more from them, because I think that's what the American people need to hear as well, to strengthen that resolve. Because those people, those brave men and women that are fighting for us, they want to do this job and they want to get it done, and that encourages me and the American people.
And interestingly, recruiting, and it has something to do with the economy, but recruiting and retention is way up. Young Americans understand how important this is, are willing to serve. And by the way, I have had the honor of meeting military leaders in my life. I have never met one that is more charismatic and more intellectually capable than General David Petraeus.
Talking with Senator John McCain, let's move over to Obama with the missile defense and the announcement that was made. The story this morning out of Washington was that Secretary of State Friday defended the administration's new approach to the missile defense in Europe, which critics are asserting will leave Europe more vulnerable. Clinton said, "We believe this is a decision that will leave America stronger and more capable of defending our troops, our interests, and our allies," in a speech at the Brookings Institution. What are your thoughts on what Barack Obama has done with the missile defense shield?
I'm a great admirer of Secretary Gates, but he was wrong. he was either misguided or misinformed when he didn't understand that this decision is interpreted by our friends in Europe, particularly Eastern European countries. And by the way, it was announced on the 70th anniversary of the Russian invasion of Poland. I mean, you can't make that up. The signal is we are willing to make concessions to the Russians in hopes that they will help us with the Iranian nuclear weapons issue. History shows, in my view, you make unilateral concessions, you get from your adversaries demands for more concessions. And so I think it was a terrific mistake. I think that it sent a signal not only to Poland and the Czech Republic, but also to Ukraine and Georgia, that and other countries in Eastern Europe, that the United States is wavering in some respects, and I'm sure the reliability of this alliance is brought into question significantly by the people there. And some of the stuff, they called the Polish prime minister at midnight. Is that, what's that all about?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Let's have a modicum of respect.
Yeah, and also let's have a little planning, and let's have a little consultation, and by the way, in the Bush administration, there's a guy named Edelman who was in Department of Defense who was in charge of this and the intelligence, and he says that maybe the intelligence estimates of the Iranian efforts to build intercontinental ballistic missiles has changed, but he said it would have to be a drastic change from all the information he had up until last January. So, again, I think it was a serious mistake, and we'll see. We'll see if the Russians are more helpful with the Iranian issue. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope the Russians become now very helpful with the Iranians.
Well, we're just about out of time, Senator John McCain. I want to tell you, say thank you once again for joining the show. And as you always say, elections have consequences, sir. So, thank you so much for taking time this morning.
You're doing a great job, John, and thank you for it.
I'll see you October 10th at the PMA Air and Space Museum, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
My pleasure. See you. Bye.
Bye.